Metal Dogs is advertised as a top-down roguelike game. It is more accurately a variation on the action RPG genre rather than being a game with rogue elements. Metal Dogs provides enjoyable action that has good progression in a casual setting. This is really easy to pick up and play with a fun amount of variety based on all the weapons you can use. The setting and the idea of playing as a dog with guns on their back is kinda silly while also feeding into the charm. This is an example of a game that checks a lot of the right boxes, provides a good performance while it's in its early access state, and it's very fun to play. Metal Dogs has you assume the role of a dog who can equip a variety of different weapons on their backs. The game is heavily inspired by classic action RPGs. You run around different environments destroying everything you come across while collecting loot. Your primary means to take out the opposition is to use your guns. Do not expect the most punchy or impactful sound effects from your firearms here. The gun sounds are a delightful mixture of toy-like with some arcadey elements. Each weapon provides distinct yet satisfying sounds, and they fit the ridiculous setting for this game. Firing and targeting your enemies is really simple. The guns will sort of auto-lock onto enemies, and this mostly gets the job done. This isn't a game with much precision shooting. It is about doing enough damage fast enough to the mobs of enemies. That being said, there is a lock-on button to specifically target one enemy at a time if you want to. It can be a bit clunky to switch between locked-on targets, and this is mostly a feature that needs a bit more refinement. I honestly did not use it much while in combat. While playing, I would have a tendency to dive headfirst into the action and fire off all the weapons that I had. This would usually result in damaging or outright killing all of my enemies. In many cases, I found myself firing off all my weapons, then dodging enemy attacks until I was able to fire again. It is all very simple and fun. While controlling your dog, you will have 3 different weapons equipped at once. One thing that I really liked was how you can fire off all of your weapons at once, or you can opt to stagger them out. You have a reload button, and this will reload all of your weapons that have any missing ammo. So if you can time it right, you can continually switch to different weapons while reloading others, resulting in you consistently shooting. This really comes down to how you want to engage the enemies, along with what weapons you have equipped. For defense, you have the option to do a dash. The dash is on a short cooldown, so you cannot spam it continually. Along with this, as you damage enemies, you will charge up a super move that does a lot of damage. And that is pretty much it when it comes down to the basic combat in the game. While this is very simple and easy to get into, it has a lot of surrounding elements that help to keep you invested in this title. For one, there is a decent variety of different enemies to fight. You have your melee enemies, range fighters, heavies, and other ones that spawn in smaller enemies. What helps the variation and the charming silliness of the game is how you will fight everything from military vehicles like tanks to different types of bugs. Along with this, there are enemies that have different elemental properties. For example, the fire enemies can cause long-lasting damage to you, or the ice enemies can prevent you from moving for a bit. In addition to this, the layout of the missions change each time you go into them. The objectives will be the same, but the order of the rooms will be different. Furthering the casual nature of the game is how the map provides you with all of the information that you need. This is not the type of game where you will be exploring the environments, but rather going through them, fighting the enemies, and then grabbing any useful items. The map highlights where every enemy is. While the map does not indicate what type of enemy it is, you will know that there is something there to fight, along with where to pick up chests for loot. I think this works well since Metal Dogs is all about fast action, and all of this feeds into the progression. So the use of the map fits in with this game's casual nature. Metal Dog's progression provides a good addictive hook to keep you coming back for more. As you defeat enemies, you will earn experience points. Once you have enough, you will level up and earn more health and what appears to be better defense. Within each of the levels are chests that you can pick up for a chance to get new or better loot. In addition to all of this, many defeated enemies will drop gold for you to pick up, along with being rewarded with more gold at the end of a completed mission. Furthering the replay and rewards are how many of the missions have optional objectives and rewards tied to them. While back at base, you can opt to sell many of the weapons and equipment that are not useful for gold. There is a shop there that you can use to buy new weapons and armor along with healing items. There is a weapon lab that you can use to change the stats of your equipment. For example, some of the armor will come with different bonuses, like providing health regeneration and more defense. You can also use supplies to try and change the bonuses that the equipment provides you. Metal Dogs does a pretty good job at providing fun action with solid progression. Considering that you have 3 slots for your weapons, this is where the game provides some options for player expression. You can opt to focus on fast-firing weapons so that there is never any downtime within a fight, or you can opt to have only long-range missile launchers that will take a while to reload but do a lot of damage, or you can do a mixture of the two along with other playstyles. Again, this is not an incredibly deep game, just a very fun one. Metal Dogs is a very fun game and pretty good, especially in its early access state. I did identify a few areas that could help to refine the game a bit more. For one, I think the game needs a sound when you are reloading your weapons. There is a sound to indicate when the reloading is complete, but not one to start the process or during it. I think something like this would be really helpful during the more chaotic encounters. I generally enjoyed the boss fight encounters as they help to change up the action enough, and were always pretty tough to beat. But my main issue with them is how they seem to show all of their hand at the start of a fight. For example, during one of the first boss fights, the enemy would send out a bunch of surrounding blasts, along with spawning in smaller enemies for me to contend with. Outside of these moves, the fight doesn't really change from start to finish. There's a lack of surprises during these fights. Granted, not all of the boss encounters felt like this, but when it happened, the fights felt less dynamic and more static. The game provides you with one dog to play as, and then you slowly unlock more, but the different dogs only really seem to provide visual variety, rather than having any type of inherent abilities, weapons, or skills for each dog. Now, I could understand the dogs only providing visual variety, but then why have me unlock them and then level them up individually? It feels like the dog should provide some different stats or something else to really make this more interesting. For example, have one dog be more of a tank with more health, or have another be faster. Along with this, the AI can be pretty dumb at times and easily cheesed. One addition I would like to see is a training grounds area that you could go to from your main base that you could use to test out different weapons and weapon combinations without being in an actual mission. I also think a survival mode would suit this game very well, along with local and online co-op. This seems like the perfect game to play with a friend to enjoy for a few hours. Even with these issues, this is a very fun game. Metal Dogs is a casual yet fun game that provides you with some mindless action. There isn't really much to the story, but controlling a dog with guns on their back is really silly and charming. The visuals are decent, with the soundtrack being the best aspect about the presentation. The action and progression are the two best areas of the game. There's a good amount of variety in what weapon combinations you can try out, along with always earning something new to use or sell for better weapons. It checks all of the right boxes for a game of this type, and is a very fun game, especially in its early access state. If you are looking for something simple and fun, then I would recommend you check this one out. Thank you very much for watching.